to misrepresent me to make his point. I don't need to misrepresent him to make my point. The truth is, he didn't think this through. Cutting winter fuel payments isn't just callous. It may not make savings, it could actually cost us all more. And that's not the only policy which is making things worse. The Chancellor's budget is a body blow to family businesses and also charities. Marie Curie have warned that Labour's budget will cost them nearly £3 million a year. This is a cancer charity saying they have no option but to reduce services. Did the Chancellor tell the Prime Minister that her jobs tax was going to hit charity?
Keir Starmer, the leader of the Labour Party, is facing a growing crisis of credibility. We are 6 months into his leadership, and it's becoming increasingly difficult to tell what's true and what's not when he speaks. Time and time again, Starmer has been caught in lies or evading the truth, making it harder for the public to trust him. Today's Prime Minister's questions were no different. Not only did he refuse to directly answer questions, but he also misrepresented facts to push his narrative. It's a pattern that the public is noticing, and the trust in Starmer is eroding fast. One of the most controversial decisions made by Labour's leadership is the cutting of winter fuel payments for pensioners. Starmer's own position on this issue has changed multiple times. At one point, he claimed that the payments were unnecessary, calling them a deadweight, and now he's backing the cuts. But what's more alarming is the potential financial burden these cuts will place on pensioners. Winter fuel payments are crucial for elderly people who struggle to keep their homes warm during the cold months. Removing this support not only seems callous, but could ultimately cost the public more, especially when we consider the likely increase in health issues due to cold-related illnesses. Starmer's flip-flopping on this policy doesn't instill confidence that he has a clear plan for the country. In addition to this, Labour's autumn budget has been a disaster for both families and charities. The Chancellor's budget has placed a significant strain on charitable organizations, particularly those involved in healthcare, such as Marie Curie, which is facing an annual loss of nearly £3 million due to cuts in funding. This will result in a reduction of essential services for people battling cancer. This is just one example of how Starmer's decisions are directly harming the most vulnerable in society. It raises a bigger question. Is Starmer truly committed to supporting those who need help the most? Or is he more focused on political gain at the expense of essential services? Another major issue that has sparked public outrage is the jobs tax that's set to take effect under Labour's policies. Small businesses and employers across the UK are already struggling to survive, and this new tax will make it even harder for them to stay afloat.
She's asked 3 questions about winter fuel with her leaving out, I'll come to that, but she's changed her mind on this. She used to say that the payments were a dead weight. She said there were members of her constituency who didn't need it. And they all stood in 2017 on a manifesto, a Tory manifesto that committed to getting rid of the universal winter payments for pensioners. So we can see what their real commitment is. As for the budget, we're driving up productivity, prosperity and living standards. That's a pay rise for the 3 million who are the lowest paid. They should welcome that. A pay rise for those working in the NHS and better than expected wage growth just before Christmas. What unites all three? Delivered by Labour, opposed by the Tories.
Starmer's decision to raise national insurance rates from 13.8% to 15% is being criticized as a tax on jobs. This tax hike will significantly increase the financial burden on employers, and many businesses may be forced to cut jobs or close their doors altogether. The economy is already under strain, with inflation rising and consumer confidence at an all-time low. Labour's decisions are pushing the country in the wrong direction, and many people are concerned about the long-term impact of these policies. Let's not forget the state of the NHS, which is facing a crisis of its own. Under Starmer's leadership, the healthcare system is experiencing a £22 billion shortfall, record waiting lists, and severe staff shortages. Despite the urgency of the situation, Starmer has failed to provide any concrete solutions to address these issues. When asked about funding for hospices, which are essential to supporting people at the end of their lives, Starmer refused to commit to providing the necessary support. It's a sign of his broader failure to prioritize the well-being of the public, especially those who are most vulnerable.
Mr. Speaker, I don't know what world he's living in. The economy is shrinking, and they did not think this jobs tax through or who it would impact. Another area affected is the hospice sector. Hospices believe the budget will cost them an extra £30 million. Yesterday, Conservatives voted to exempt social care, nurseries, charities and hospices from their jobs tax. Labour voted this down. So can the Prime Minister at least agree to fund hospices so they can continue their invaluable work helping people at the end of their lives?
We put a record amount into the NHS in the budget to deal with the problem that they left, and we'll set out the funding arrangements for hospices in the new year. But it's the same old, same old. They want all the benefits. She said to herself she wants all the benefits from the budget, but she doesn't want to pay for any of them. That's what got us into the problem in the first place.
Meanwhile, businesses across the UK are being hit hard by the impact of the Labour budget. A prime example of this is ShoeZone, a high street retailer that has been forced to announce store closures due to the rise in national insurance tax and increases in the national living wage. The company is facing significant financial challenges, with sales already under pressure due to weak consumer confidence and the ongoing cost of living crisis. In fact, ShoeZone has said that these policies will result in the closure of several stores, which will lead to job losses and further damage to the high street. With nearly 10,500 stores closing in 2023 alone, it's clear that the retail sector is struggling, and Labour's policies are only making things worse. The new tax changes, set to take effect in April 2025, are expected to hit businesses hard. The secondary threshold for national insurance will be lowered from £9,100 to £5,000, meaning employers will have to pay more for every employee earning over that threshold. For instance, an employee earning £99,100 will cost their employer an extra £1,600 per year under the new rules. This increase is likely to discourage businesses from hiring, further exacerbating the issues facing the UK economy. The government's policies are already causing a ripple effect across the economy. Businesses are cutting jobs, consumers are spending less, and inflation is pushing prices higher. The financial burden on ordinary families is becoming unbearable, and yet Starmer's Labour Party seems more focused on implementing policies that are causing further harm. The lack of clear leadership and the constant dishonesty from Starmer's camp are alarming signs for the future of the country. What is the way forward? At this point, Starmer needs to offer real solutions, not more half-baked promises and misleading statements. The UK needs a leader who is ready to make tough decisions for the benefit of the people, not just one who is playing political games. The economy, healthcare, and businesses cannot afford any more of these disastrous policies. It's clear that the country is heading into dangerous waters under Starmer's leadership. The economy is shrinking, unemployment is on the rise, and vital services are being neglected. The government's focus should be on supporting businesses, protecting jobs, and ensuring that the most vulnerable in society receive the help they need. If Starmer continues on this path, the consequences could be catastrophic for the UK. What are your thoughts on Starmer's leadership and the Labour Party's policies? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more updates on British politics. We will see you in the next video. Thanks.